Welcome to Strange New Adventures, a strange new pod Star Trek Adventures show. I'm Julian Brown, and I will be your game master for these upcoming games. And in just a little bit, you'll get to meet the crew of this adventure, as well as the vessel they'll be serving aboard. Also give you our story setting and a sneak peek at the opening act, Operation Evacuate. First, I want to say a quick thank you to our amazing patron collective who make new projects like this happen. We announced this right at the tail end of 2024, and we are just so excited to get this going. This game is being played by our patron collective, which makes it even more cool. I love that. And these stories and episodes will be available to you a month early before they're released to the general public, as you know, a thank you for all you do to keep us going, to keep our lights on, our warp core thrumming, and all of that fun stuff. So why don't we get down to it? Let's talk about the setting of our strange new adventure. The overall Infinite Combination story, along with its first episode, or adventure as they're called in Star Trek Adventures, Incursion Point, takes place in the mid-23rd century, more specifically the Strange New Worlds era. This and the original series era of Star Trek is generally known as the Wild West era of Starfleet and the Federation, where exploration was at its peak, while captains out the furthest they've ever been on 5-year missions played loosey-goosey with General Order 1, or as it's more commonly known and renamed in Strange New Worlds, the Prime Directive.
They're doubling down, renaming it the Prime Directive. Well, that'll never stick.
This Star Trek adventure is taken from the second edition starter set as a way for us all to familiarize ourselves with the game. All of us are playing Star Trek Adventures for the very first time. So with that, let's talk a bit about the rules. So listeners, you have kind of an idea of how the game works and how we'll be playing. Star Trek Adventures is a tabletop role-playing game that uses the 2D20 system. These D20s are used for many different things, including attempting tasks, resolving conflict, and determining results from random tables, etc., etc., etc. Unlike D&D, where a higher dice roll is always favorable, Star Trek Adventures takes your attributes and your departments and locks in a target number. Players who roll their target numbers or below that target number are granted a success. If they hit their target numbers, that's generally a critical success. Rolls have a difficulty ranging from 0 to 5, and players can use something called momentum to purchase more D20s to help them achieve a success. Equally, GMs can do the same with threat. That right there, in its most basic form, is the core mechanic of Star Trek Adventures. With that, let's talk about our starship, because what is Star Trek without its starships? We will be on board the USS Challenger, registry number NCC 2023. The Challenger is a Constitution-class starship like the USS Enterprise, USS Cayuga, and more vessels of that era. The Challenger was launched in 2259 and has been in service for 16 years, undergoing one refit. Much like the loadout of other Constitution-class vessels, Challenger is equipped with phaser banks, pew pew pew, photon torpedoes, more pew pew pew, and a tractor beam. With a Commodore in command, Challenger also has the talent. A talent is a specific type of trait that's within Star Trek Adventures of being a command ship. So that was pretty quick. I'm sure you're all wondering who the crew of the USS Challenger is, so we are going to get to know the crew. And we will start with the commanding officer of the USS Challenger, Commander Nella Zen.
Accessing library computer data.
Hi everyone, I'm Faf. I am going to play Commodore Nella Zen. Commodore Zen revels in high-octane adventures in the final frontier, preferring to lead her own landing parties, fly her own shuttlecraft, and fire her own phasers when things turn sideways. But she keeps an unusual script. A freak temporal anomaly transported her to a dystopian alternate future where she met an elderly version of herself who carried a symbiont named Seal. This came as a surprise to Zen, who never considered being joined. The alternate version of herself, or myself, whatever you want to call it, suffered a fatal injury, and the only way for the single symbiont to survive was for Zen to undergo emergency joining surgery. The newly joined Commodore Zen found a way to return to her timeline and reported the incident to the Department of Temporal Investigations, which ordered her to keep the incident secret and the symbiont. And the only member of this crew that knows this is our medical officer, Dr. Voral. I have a secret. Nobody knows it. Commodore Zen, she values original thinking. Prime directive? More like a prime suggestion. And death has no power over me. Coffee, black.
Thank you, Commodore Zen. And next up is the USS Challengers. You know, I think we're not sure about this. Maybe we'll come to find out. First officer, we believe, Commander Xanthus Thravik.
Accessing library computer data.
I am Rebecca, and I will be playing Commander Xanthus Thravik. Commander Thravik is an icy and unforgiving as his homeworld, but the heart of a poet beats within his cold exterior. He is fiercely loyal to Commander Zen, and he's learned to stop arguing when she decides to lead the landing party. Commander Thravik previously served as Chief of Tactical aboard the USS Azimuth before the ship vanished without a trace while he was leading a mission on a remote moon. He is an Andorian, and his values are a demeanor as icy as Andor itself. He doesn't start the fight, doesn't back down from one either. He's ready for action and loyal to Commodore Zen. He does have a special weapon, it looks like. Ushantor, which is a tradition of honor dueling known as the Ushan, and having spilt much blood on the ice. And when he makes a melee attack or a targeted melee attack, he does more in adding a threat. So,
very cool. Thank you, Commander Thravik. Up next, we have the medical officer on board the USS Challenger, Dr. Voral.
Accessing library computer data.
Hello, I'm Simon. I'll be playing Dr. Voral, which I noticed I'm not really sure I have a rank other than being the CMO on this ship. So
we're gonna CMO. I'm gonna give you the rank. How that works. She's got commander stripes on the picture, so I'm gonna say commander.
All right. So Dr. Voral maintains the strict mental discipline characteristics of Vulcans, but she occasionally allows positive emotions to manifest in ways that make other Vulcans uncomfortable. This is due to a previous mission during which she had initiated a mind meld in an energy being who could not otherwise communicate. This experience proved to be transcendent as her consciousness blended with an alien intelligence that radiated joy. The incident opened Voral to intellectual and philosophical possibilities beyond logic. Voral is the only member of the crew to be informed of Commodore Zen's joining, which was necessary in case she has to provide medical care to the Syl symbiont. Most of the abilities and talents I think you kind of expect from a doctor and or Vulcan, so I don't think there's anything really surprising here. But I do think that that interesting experience kind of changes things with the values, and I think that's the most interesting stuff here, where the values for this character are logic should not preclude joy, which is, I think, an interesting twist. Truth seeker, pleasant bedside manner, and my highest calling is a healer.
Yeah, logic, bitch!
But joy first.
But joy first. Thank you, Dr. Voral. Up next is Challenger's Chief Engineer, Lieutenant Commander Burke Venjaxa.
Accessing library computer data.
Hi, my name is Chris. I'll be playing Lieutenant Commander Burke Venjaxa. The only thing I love as much as a level 1 diagnostic is a good debate. I grew up in a Tellarite mining community situated inside an asteroid belt, and I learned to keep all the machinery operating at peak efficiency long before I left for Starfleet Academy. I fancy myself as an inventor, and I've converted a lab in a personal workspace where I tinker with my newest gadgets. I'm always up for an honest debate. You're free to speak your mind around me. Nothing's ever perfect, but it can always be better. If there is no solution for your problem, we can invent one. one of the things I like to do as a pastime is metallurgy.
Very cool. Thank you, Lieutenant Commander Venjaxa. Next up is Lieutenant Zoe Hernandez, who is a botanist aboard the USS Challenger.
Accessing library computer data.
My name is Jessie, and I'll be playing Lieutenant Zoe Hernandez. The planet on which I grew up suffered a major ecological disaster, plunging the colony into sectarian strife. Still, I learned to flourish among the ruins of my failed colony. I studied the exotic plants that eke out an existence in my planet's harsh environment, earning me a crop genetics internship at the Daystrom Institute. I enrolled in Starfleet Academy soon after to pursue my career as a scientist. I am a human. My most important value is that plants are people too. Life can flourish anywhere. I am a great problem solver. I am a survivor. I'm a fast learner. And most importantly, I have faith of the heart. I've got... No.
Nope. Thank you, Lieutenant Hernandez. And finally, you can't have a starship without the ensign. Please welcome Ensign Laniyar Tanan.
Accessing library computer data.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michael, and I'll be playing Ensign Laniyar Tanan. I'm a brilliant and enthusiastic, some might say naive, young officer. I apply my formidable telepathic abilities to communicate with alien beings. I sharpen my telepathy through daily meditation, and I view the mind as its own universe of possibility. Every bit as wondrous and alluring as the cosmos. I've never told anyone this, but when I settle into the very deepest layers of my subconscious, I sometimes hear a voice calling to me from a great distance. Some of my favorite pastimes are code breaking. And as a telepath and being Betazoid, I can sense the surface thoughts and emotions of most living beings nearby and can communicate telepathically with other empaths and telepaths, as well as those with whom I am extremely familiar.
Thank you, Ensign. And that is the cast for Star Trek Adventures Incursion Point. We hope that you liked our session 0, and we cannot wait to record our first session and bring it out for everybody to hear. Until then, I am Julian. You've met our crew. Live long and prosper. Let's hit it to Warp 5.